right, so we'll go ahead and get started. So just a little bit about this week first, the notes that you have, and then I'm going to talk just a moment about the lab before we get started. And hopefully we get some more people that pop in here soon. So this week, you've only got one set of practice problems. And so you're looking at some more from dplyr, and then you're also looking at pipe operators. So for the practice problems for this week, for the 8.1, I have not included the pipe operators in those practice problems. So for the practice problems, you don't need to use pipe operators, but we're going to look at the pipe operators in the lab assignment. The reason for this is I think pipe operators can be kind of confusing. And it's one of those things in practice, if you prefer not to use pipe operators, you don't have to. You can definitely get around using pipe operators by creating intermediary data sets. And some people prefer that because they find it easier to read the code. On the other hand, other people prefer pipe operators because it makes the code more condensed. You don't have to create those intermediary data sets. So keeping that in mind, in practice, once you're past this course, you could really use either one. You could create the intermediary data sets like we've done in the past, or you can use the pipe operators. But I wanted to make sure before you leave the class that you're at least comfortable with what pipe operators do. So it will make it easier for you to read other people's code. You know, when you go and you look up code and you're trying to figure out how to do something, if they have used pipe operators, you can see how to use them. If you have not done so already, I highly recommend watching the second half of the 8.1 video before you start the lab. And the reason for that is pipe operators read like a sentence. They read like the word then. And so seeing in the video an example of how the pipe operator works and me talking through it, I think would be really beneficial before jumping straight into the lab, which looks at pipe operators. The second set of notes for this week, I'm actually having you read a chapter from your textbook, and that chapter is on exploratory data analysis. What we have been working up to is exploratory data analysis. You've looked at how to look at plots. You've learned how to do some data wrangling, where we change some variables, things like that. These are all working towards the idea of exploratory data analysis. Next week, we're going to learn about 3 new packages that are really helpful with exploratory data analysis. And then the week after that, you're going to get your second mini project. And the second mini project is going to be, I'm going to give you a data set and ask you to do an exploratory data analysis. So reading this chapter from the book is going to be really beneficial because it's going through the fundamentals of what's included in exploratory data analysis. So do make sure that you read through that chapter and then don't forget about it, because when you go to do your mini project, that chapter is going to be really useful and contain a lot of really good information. So we'll start out. Does anybody have any questions? All right, so it looks like Ron is not here with us yet. So what we'll do is, if you're still working on 8.1, that's no problem. I'll answer 8.1 questions. And then once Ron gets here, I'll create that breakout room for those of you if you're still working on 8.1. And then if you're ready for the lab, we can go ahead and talk about the lab. So the lab is broken into 2 pieces. The first piece is I have chunks of code that are already written so that you can run them. So you're going to run those chunks of code, and then you're going to write a sentence that basically says what that chunk of code is doing. And I've already worked the first one for you so you can see what I mean. On Canvas in the lab section, I've included the PDF of the lab, and I also just put the RMD file up. I would use the RMD file to copy the code chunks. That's going to make that a little bit easier for you. Shelly reminded me, if you copy from the PDF, it can mess with the formatting. So I put that RMD file there just for you so you can copy those chunks of code to make that easier. So the first half, you're going to run those chunks of code, and you're going to write a sentence about what it's doing. Then the second half of the assignment, I flip it to where I give you the sentence and you'll write the chunk of code that goes along with that sentence. And for all of these, you're using pipe operators. So you'll notice in those sentences, I have the word then in all capital letters. And so that's to kind of cue you. You're going to want to use a pipe operator at those places in the sentence. All right, any questions? All right, if there are no questions, we'll go ahead and get started. Like I said, if you're working on 8.1, that's no problem. Go ahead and ask those questions as well as the lab. And then once Ron gets here, we'll set up the breakout room. All right, so Ron's here with us. I'm going to go ahead and set up that breakout room. All right, so that 8.1 breakout room is open. So if you're working on 8.1, go ahead and join that. If it does not give you the option, so if you have an older version of Zoom, it's probably why it's not giving you the option to join the breakout rooms. If you just want to send me a message in the chat, I can assign you to the breakout room. So if you're still working on 8.1, go ahead and go to that breakout room with Ron. If you're working on the lab, stay in here with me. One thing with the lab, when you get down to the practice using pipe operators, if you'll remember, this is the data set that we used for the last lab. So some of those pieces of code you might be able to reuse from the last lab. In particular, when you get down to the very last question and it's asking you to create a new variable, you'll notice that that's a variable that you've already written the code to create in the last lab. So keep that in mind that you might be able to copy and paste some code over.
Dr. Alice, I had a quick question about one of the later questions in the assignment. I just read ahead a little bit and I want to make sure I understand what it's asking. Um, so I think it starts on number 3 is when it starts asking them, like when to add a new variable to the data set. Is that something that is going to be done separately of the pipe operators, or should that be included like in the statement?
That'll be included in the statement. So these are the ones, these are similar to what we did in lab last week. So remember we used that mutate function to create
Mm-hmm.
week. So you'll do it the same way, except what you'll essentially do is take that piece of code where you use the mutate function and you'll put it after a pipe operator.
Okay. Okay.
So whereas in lab, we created a new data set to store those, here you'll include it as part of the pipe operators.
Gotcha. Do you still like name it as you normally would?
No, so well, yes and no, you can. So if you scroll up for me on page 2, or actually here, let me share my screen. So here, let me make this bigger. All right. So this is on the first part of the assignment, but this will show you the difference. So here in chunk 4, notice that I start with the SA heart data set and then I use the pipe operators. This is just going to output the new data set.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in chunk 5, see here at the beginning, I have an assignment operator and then I have SA heart 2. This will store whatever I do here into SA heart 2. So notice here with the pipe operator, I actually use the mutate function right here to create LDL2. And so it'll store it in SA heart 2. For those ones on page 3, you're going to do something very similar. You'll use the mutate function. It's just you're not going to make LDL2. You're going to make that new variable that it talks about on page 3. But the overall structure will be very similar to this.
Okay.
So a structure like this with the assignment operator and a new data set name will store it into SA heart 2. This one, on the other hand, is just going to output. So notice after this chunk in chunk 4, I've included the output here. So this is what it outputs. Whereas this one for chunk 5, since I assign it to be SA heart 2, you'll notice the data isn't output because it's stored in SA heart 2.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And if when you get down to that section, if that's confusing, just let me know and we can look at it together.
Awesome, thanks.
So I'm working on that 3 right now. I've got the BMI input in. Do I need the filter statement afterwards?
So let me go down to 3. Start with. No, you will not for this one because
I didn't.
Let me share my screen again. So Shelly, you're on this number 3, correct?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So how this one kind of overall will be structured is you'll start with the data set, have a pipe operator. Then here,
Got those groups.
Yep, that'll be your mutate statement. And then a pipe operator. Then you're going to group by BMI level. So to group, hold on a second. Yeah.
So we don't need the filter here at all. We just start into the pipes and do the group. Okay.
That's exactly right.
Perfect.
And then you'll have another pipe operator that finds whatever it asks for there. What do I got here? Max LDL, min LDL, and so on. Yeah, so my goal for this lab is hopefully after you work through all of it, you kind of start to see that when you use these pipe operators, that the code really just reads like a sentence. And the way that those the way that the functions in the dplyr package are built really just help you read that code just like a sentence. So when you see words like group, you'll use the group by. If you see filter, you use the filter, and so on. there was something else I forgot to ask you all, or tell/ask you all. And I realized that Lindley and Samuel are in the other room, so I'll have to ask them separately. So Shelley had asked me about, for those of you, especially those of you that are graduate students, how to do inferential procedures in R. So things like an ANOVA test, a t-test, and I forget who it was. Cameron, was it you that asked me about linear regression? So linear regression, things like that. Where this course does not have an official prereq on it, I can't really incorporate those concepts into the course because you need to have prerequisite knowledge of what those are before I can show you how to code it. But I know for many of you, especially that are graduate students, that's really important information that you would like to have and how to do in R. So what I'm going to do is I'll send out a survey to the class to see how you would like me to approach it. I can do this a couple different ways. I can make you all some tutorials on how to do those things, and I can just post them in like an optional module in R that's not graded, but so that you have those videos and examples so you can see how to do that. So that's one option. Another option is we could all find a time together that works well for everyone, and I can do a little workshop for you all where I go through an example data set. And so the benefit there is you'd be able to ask me questions, but the downside is everybody's really busy. So, there's a bit of a trade-off there, but I will send, I plan on sending a survey out to see how you all would like me to do that. So those of you that want that information can get that information. And in there, I'll include a list of topics, and I'll have you check mark what topics you're interested in, just to kind of give me an idea of, what exactly it is that you need that would be useful for you all. But I'll definitely include things like an ANOVA test for sure. I'll do t-test. And with both of those, I'll show you how to check the assumptions for both of those, so you have that as well. And then as well as linear regression. And I will show you all for the linear regression. I'll show you all simple linear regression. And I'll also show you how to do multiple linear regression. So I teach an entire course on linear regression. So it won't be possible for me to show you all of linear regression, but I can show you the basics. And if you have the basics of how to do linear regression in R, expanding that isn't too bad once you have those basics. So but just look for that survey. I'll probably do that sometime next week to figure out the best way to get you all that information.
Yeah, I would love that. I just wanted to point out, yesterday I actually read chapter 23 and 24 of the book you sent out about linear regressions, because I have to do it for a job stuff tomorrow. So I was teaching myself how to do it.
What was the book useful?
Oh, super useful.
Okay, good. I think the book is pretty good. Both of those optional books, and the fact that they're free makes them even better.
Yes, I saved the book. It's bookmarked in my internet now, so I can go and read those chapters you read, Kate.
It definitely at least gets you started. I'm sure class would help a lot, but it gets you started anyway.
I will say the R Studio people. So a lot of those free texts are from the. So there's a distinction between R, which is the language, and R Studio is really just the compiler, or it's the interface. That it's a GUI that lets you write, interact with I can't talk this morning, R code. But so anyways, the people who developed R Studio, they do a lot of really good educational information, whether it be through those books, the cheat sheets. If you all did not see it, I posted to the announcements. You might want to look at it. There's a summer internship that's with R Studio. And you might think, well, I've only had one R class. Would I really be appropriate for this? They have some really cool internships that don't require a whole lot of our knowledge. So like one of the internships is working on those cheat sheets. So the cheat sheets that you all have seen, it's about developing the cheat sheets. Really the only thing that you all won't have in this class that won't make you eligible is using Git. So I don't know if you all are familiar with Git. But it even said on there that you can, learn the little bit of Git that you need to learn on your own to submit an application. So if you're interested, it might be worth looking into, because like I said, some of the different opportunities for that internship, a lot of them were educational. They were definitely things that I think you all could jump in and do. The only piece you're going to be missing is, knowing about Git.
Okay, do you mind if I share my screen? I've got a error and I've tried a couple different things, but it's not really working.
Hold up.
So my error is group by BMI level, object BMI level not found. So I copied and pasted my levels, but I don't know what where my error is.
It's in level. So when you define level, you have a lowercase L. When you group by level, you've got an uppercase L.
Perfect.
Try that.
Let's see if
Let's
that
double check before you stop sharing, but that should fix it.
One. Nope. It is not liking me. BMI level. Case 1.
Oh,
Do I need to change this?
yeah, so that should be a pipe operator next to, it shouldn't be an assignment operator, that should be a pipe. Because you start with the
Where?
SR data set, then you're going to mutate. So change that to a pipe operator.
So do I need do I need it to be this?
You need one more, no, so you want that's the N, you want the pipe operator. So it'll be percentage sign greater than percentage sign. So it's just like you've gotten the one up above after SA heart. Yes, and then hold on, let me read this real quick. Or yeah, let's try running it, and then.
Nope. Doesn't say anything about this. This part seems good.
Yeah, well.
Group by level. Just I won't find because it's not finding that. Do I need to put a table function in?
Oh, it's because, okay, so where you're using a pipe operator in your mutate call, I don't think you need to have SA heart there. Yes, because the pipe operator knows that you're going to use SA heart, and then you'll want to get rid. Okay, now try that.
No.
Listen here. Level equals.
What have I done? So BMI level, BMI underweight, healthy, overweight, obese. Group by BMI level, summarize, count, and I have my mins, my max. Min, operate. So something up in this first line.
Yeah, for some reason it's not finding the BMI level, and that's what I'm trying to figure out why. Oh, I know why. It is because, so previously when we wrote this code in lab, remember that we added a variable named BMI to the data set, and how we did that was we just renamed obesity. So here we haven't added that in. So instead of BMI, put in obesity. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, so all of this needs to be, and then what do I?
So your 4
It says
BMIs just need to be changed to obesity, and then I think it'll work. The reason, because there is no variable BMI in the data set. It was, we had.
But did I change it in the mutate level?
You didn't. So in the other lab we did. Careful, obesity is lowercase. Your first one's got obesity uppercase.
So do I need to change the group, the BMI level needs to be obesity level?
No, so that one's fine because that's the name that you're giving it. And I think the reason it was saying that variable didn't exist was because it couldn't create it because it didn't know what BMI was. Oh, okay, no, I was wrong. I'll try this again.
Something's going and then it does this. So it's not, it really doesn't like me today. I was doing so well.
Let's see. Let me bring up my R and let me play with it for just a second.
Okay.
So, do you mind to just copy and paste the code that you have there in the chat for me? And I'm going to copy it over to my screen, play with it for just a second.
This will be easy. Why don't I do this?
Yeah, we could try that. That would work. And then you would call SA Heart 2. I'm not sure that that's the issue.
No, but I think it might help on the next one when I try to do the next one too.
You're right.
Let me just see. Here it goes. Nope, still not finding it. I'm gonna stop sharing, just kind of
Oh,
twiddle with the.
I think I found it. Give me just a second. I think.
Okay.
Yep, I found it. You're missing a pipe operator. So notice.
Where?
So you have the mutate. So you've got all the mutate, and then you go to the group by, which is a different function. So you got to have a pipe operator. Yeah, right there. Because the pipe operator separates out the different functions. Yeah, try that. That should run now.
Is that the correct pipe operator though?
Yep. There you go.
Perfect.
All right. That
All right.
took longer than it should have.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now I should just. So when we do heart disease in the last one with 5, and I apologize to everybody else. I kind of did all of this ahead of time because the first half was quite easy. So I'm on 5. It's telling me heart disease is not found, and I put all of the family history in. Is like heart disease like a yes/no thing, or? You're muted.
Sorry about that. For this one, you should be able to copy the code straight from lab last week.
I
For
did.
This one, do you want to bring up your screen? This one's kind of funny because family history is a character variable with absent present. And then heart disease, the CHD variable, is an integer, 1s and 0s.
So
Oh, that looks good. Oh, you did the same thing that you did last time. You're missing that same pipe operator.
right there.
And after the mutate. So you got to have one right before the group by.
Oh, gosh darn it. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Let's make sure it works after you run that, though. But
Easier
I
to
think
find
that's
this.
probably the issue.
All right, guys. Don't forget your pipe operators after your groups. I've made that mistake 3 times now. Thanks.
You're welcome.
So I'm actually getting an error now too, if I can share.
Yes, please do. Which number are you on, Kate?
I'm on number 3 of the practice using pipe operators. So I have my data set, and then I want to mute.
You're really
Tape.
close. You are missing. So if you look at number 3, so you've got, so if we kind of look through number 3 together, you've got the start with SA heart data set. Then you've got the add the new variable, but you're missing the then by BMI level. That's what you're missing.
Oh, I need to group by.
Yep. So to do that, you'll just add in the group by, give it BMI level, and then finish it off with another pipe operator. Oh, I think you're frozen, Kate. Okay, if you can hear me, I'm going to stop your sharing to see if that helps. Oh, okay. Welcome back. Oh, I can't hear you. There's no audio.
Oh, it just like crashed on me. Can you hear me now?
I can. Did you? Were you able to hear what I said? Oh no, I think Kate's frozen again.
Okay, cool. Don't know why that happened, but
It froze on you again. Were you able to hear how I said to fix it?
May have to move.
Joys of Zoom, right?
Yep. How did you say to fix it? My computer keeps crashing. I'm going to plug
Okay,
in.
no, you're fine. That's why I was worried you didn't hear it. You're missing the group by. So what you'll want to do is after the mutate statement, add a pipe,
Mhm.
then add the group by, and in group by you'll say BMI level, and then another pipe operator. If you want to bring up your screen, we can talk through it if it'll let you.
Yeah, I just plugged into the internet, so we should be good now. Went and got my Ethernet cord. Okay, so I did that.
Okay, perfect. Is it still not running?
Let me try again. I just tried a second ago and it still said, let me pull up the air for you.
Okay, let me scroll up to your code for me and let me see.
Okay, let me get rid of this.
Okay, so you got your SA heart, mutate, BMI level, that looks good, case win. I think you're missing a parenthesis. So after obese in quotations, I think you need 2 parentheses off of that because one will close off the case when, or maybe not.
Yeah,
One
it kind of looks like I need to.
And then I think now you've got an extra one all the way down at the bottom on line 112.
That would make sense. Let's try this again.
There we go. Yep, looks
Perfect.
good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Dr. Ellis.
Yeah.
So for number 2, are you asking for, on practice using pipe operators? Are you saying group by whether someone has coronary heart disease and is over 40 versus doesn't have coronary heart disease and is over 40? or do I need to like create a new indicator variable for like whether or not somebody's over 40?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like you want us to filter first?
Sorry, so let me read it again. Sometimes I have to read it and be like, what did I mean by that when I wrote it? Group by whether or not someone has coronary heart disease and is over 40. Yeah, so what I'm saying is, what did I mean by that? Start with the same group by. Yeah, sorry, that's confusing now that I read it. Sorry, give me just a second here to figure out the easiest way to. Yeah, I should have written that differently. I should have written, start with the SA heart data set, then filter for if they're over 40, then group by whether or not they have coronary heart disease. Does that make sense? Yeah, because
Yeah, that makes
the
sense.
way that that's written doesn't make sense. If you have already done number 2, don't worry about this. So Shelly, I think you've probably already done number 2, so don't worry about it. If you have not done number 2, let me rewrite this.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was on the same wavelength as you, and I wrote it just like what you just said. So I didn't interpret it differently, but
Yeah,
I don't know, maybe.
Kate just sent that code. Kate, that's going to do something slightly different, but it'll actually end up giving the same information in the end, because I think what yours is going to do, Kate, is it's going to make 4 different groups. So it's going to make a CHD, yes CHD, yes over, yes CHD, no over, if that makes sense. So I think yours will make 4 different groups. If we do it the way I said, it will only make 2 groups, but those 2 groups will be included in your 4. So Kate, what you have is perfectly fine there.
So can I show you what the output is? Because it only gives me 2 groups, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So let me make this bigger. I just ran it. So this is my output that I just got.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, so that did do. I didn't think that would do that. I thought it would give you all 4. So yeah, so that does exactly what I was saying. So Kate's solution will work, or you could use the filter beforehand. Either one, it looks like will give you the same thing. So let me write this the other way. So I'm going to put it in the chat. Here's an alternative way to read number 2. And I'm curious, if someone does it this way, I'd be curious to compare with Kate's answers. I think you'll get the exact same thing. So I think you can put them together in the group, or you could filter first for only those over 40 and then group by CHD. I think either way will give you the same answer. Yeah, that surprised me, Kate. For some reason, I thought it would give you all 4 groups.
Who knows?
Yeah. I will say that is a good practical thing that I don't know that I've really stressed enough with you all. Never, I don't care how confident you are in your coding skills, never blindly trust the output. So whatever output I always get, I always do like a sanity check. If there's something I can quickly check by hand or compare back to my data set, I always do that. Or I always just make sure, do the numbers I get look reasonable? And again, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I always try to do some kind of sanity check, because let's be honest, we're all human. I make mistakes all the time. So I always do a sanity check with my output just to make sure does what I have seem reasonable.
Dr. Ellis.
Yes.
Is there a reason if when using case when and mutate that I would be getting NAs when using like sequence? I'm using the sequence to tell it, which range of numbers to use, but I'm still getting NAs.
Do you mind to pull up your code? Let's look at it.
Well, yeah, I'll pull it up, but I actually already removed it.
Oh, gotcha.
And I did it a different way, and I wanted to confirm that this would like produce accurate numbers.
Yeah, that one should work. So what that's doing, so when you use the sequence in the end, you're specifying the exact numbers that it could be, and that works for this variable because it only has 2 decimal places. What you have done should also work, and what it's doing is it's actually making a continuous interval and any number inside that interval, but it should give you the same thing either way. And again, that's because this particular variable, actually, it's 2 decimal places, is why either one will work. If we had, if the numbers were more decimal places, then what I have would not work, but yours would work, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure because like
why your sequence wasn't working. Do you mind, actually, if you scroll down in your console, you should be able to see the error, and I might be able to see it really quick if it.
So here's where I got. Yeah, here's my.
Oh, so that's actually working. What that is doing is, what that's saying is you've got a group that was missing. So if you took, so what that tells you is there were 23 observations where let's see, is it, for that one was adioplasty, is that right? Adiosity, however you say that. There were 23 observations where that variable was missing. But for that missingness that was in the BAI, it still had LDL and SPB. So what it's saying is for those 23 observations that were missing, that's the max LDL. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I think I actually checked it. Let's see if we can get this to run for us. That's not very pretty, but
as long as it runs.
Let's see. And so some of the ones with the NA actually do have, let's see, this adiposity. It's there.
Oh, weird. So why isn't it picking up? So if you had,
so I'm curious if other people are getting NAs in their output if they use sequence.
Well, might be, but that's bizarre because that should pick that up in that second one, because notice you've got a sequence that runs from 11 to 23.99 by 0.1. So 19.3 should be in there.
I did get an NA too on mine.
You did get an NA, Kate?
Yeah, it says at the bottom of the output like NA, and then it has stuff.
Interesting.
I got the same thing, but I thought it was like what you said, like it was working.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it wasn't.
I would be curious. Do you mind to highlight just the sequence piece for me, and let's print that out? So not the full line, but just the sequence function. Yeah, so let's run that and see if 19.63, it should be, yeah, so 19.63 is in there. So that's odd why that isn't picking that up.
Yeah. Unless is it getting, I mean, I've actually not tried it by putting sequence right here, but that shouldn't matter, I assume.
It shouldn't matter at all. That is bizarre. Why would that not pick that up?
Because another 22.99.
That is really strange that that's not picking that up. All right, I want to do me a favor. Do you mind to scroll up? What observation number was that? The 19.63?
30.
39.
Yeah, 39.
And so do you mind to scroll back down to where we printed the sequence? All right, and so 19.63 is right there, so 53, 61, 62, 63, 64. All right, so if you don't mind to stop sharing for a second, I'll show you all how I'm going to check this and see if this makes sense. Okay. So obviously there's a problem here, but for those of you that this is already written in lab, don't worry about it. I'll post a correction to the announcements for this so you can see what it looks like. But if you're using, the sequence that I gave you all, don't worry about it. But let's see if we can figure out what's going on here. So what I'm going to do is, if we look at the SA heart data set, and in particular, I'm going to look at this variable, and I want to look at the 39th observation. See if I got my numbers right here. Okay, so the 39th observation is 16.93. Now, if we run that sequence from so I'm going to create a new object down here. I'm going to call it test.sequence. Daniel, can you remind me, I've got the BMI one here. What was it for the BAI? What were these two numbers? Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, let's see. It was 11 to 23.99.
All right, so I've got test.sequence. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to call the observation from test.sequence that's equal to 19.63. And if I counted right, that was the 864th observation. I may have counted wrong though, so let's test this. Okay, so now for some reason, the code is not picking up that this one is equal to this one. So I'm going to do a logic test here and just ask, are these two things equal? So it's telling me false. So what that tells me is the way that these are stored, it's not picking them up correctly. So why is it not picking it up correctly? So that's reading that as numeric. They're both numeric. Well, I'm kind of at a loss, to be honest with you all. Why would it do that? All right, I'm going to try to get to the bottom of this. But like I said, in your code, obviously we used it last lab too, and I didn't catch it. So if you have that sequence in there to mutate these, that is perfectly fine. I will see if I can get to the bottom of why it's recognizing some of these as being equal, but not other ones as being equal. And then I will post a solution. But this would be, if I were going to troubleshoot this would be the initial thing that I would do, is print them out individually. They look the same, but R doesn't see them as the same. So then the next thing I would do would be test what they're stored as. They're both numbers, and we can actually see that up here, and we can see that here. So yeah, so I will keep on playing with that, and I'll post a solution.
I think last class we ran into a similar problem and we fixed it using just like an AND statement instead of using sequency.
What did you use?
We used the AND statement.
Oh, so well, we're using the end statement still, because essentially what we're asking is, So what the code is really asking is this. So the code is asking, so Gustavo, do you mean like this? So you used, like that.
It's not showing up for me.
Oh, sorry. It's
No,
not.
the screen is, I think, just cutting. No, it was like on the top code, instead of using sequency.
So Daniel was just saying that. So he used an and statement there, like a
Right.
less than or equal and an and made a continuous interval.
Yep.
So that'll be the correction that I'll post for this. I'm more curious. I can't figure out why the sequence isn't working, because I would think that that sequence would work because they're both showing up as numeric. If you look at the individual elements in the sequence and in the data set, they're both 19.63. And for other ones, it's working. It's not like they're all showing up as NA.
Yep.
So I'm curious as to why. I wonder if we do. So what I'm kind of wondering is in the SA Heart data set, if there are hidden decimal places, maybe? I don't think so. But to test that, we can easily do this. And then, nope, still not in there. Yeah, so I'll write up something in the announcements. I'll play with that some more, and I'll try to figure out why that doesn't work. And then, just like you all said, I'll post that correction where you can do the alternative logic statement that creates that continuous interval, and it'll find it. But if you have the sequence in the code, don't worry about it for right now. The main thing here is to see how these pipe operators work and how mutate works. But like I said, I'll post a correction in the announcement once I figure out why the sequence doesn't work.
So I wanted to tell you that my code got a different answer than when I did the filter.
I wonder if it's because, did you do it both using the sequence to create the grouping?
I was just I meant earlier when I had the like and.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah. Do you want me to show you the two difference? Or okay. So you can see this one was the one that had the code that I posted in the chat. Then this one's the one that has the filter. And you can tell.
Okay. I know what the difference is.
Yeah.
So what is happening is in your first code, what it's doing is it is making two separate groups. One group is those that are over 40 and have coronary heart disease.
Mm-hmm.
The other group is anybody that doesn't have coronary heart disease
Mm-hmm.
or is under 40. So there's
Mm-hmm.
going to be, it can be one or the other. So there's going to be some people that have coronary heart disease and they're under 40 that are in the second group. There's going to be some people who are under 40 and don't have coronary heart disease. And there's going to be people over 40 without coronary heart disease in the second group. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Whereas the second way, what it's doing is it's filtering out all of those that are over 40 and then separating out those with and without coronary heart disease. So your first one will actually have everybody in one of the two groups.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, so the second way is going to have just those over 40. So it's only going to have a piece of the data set the second way.
Okay. So we just wanted to use the filter one.
Yeah, so just use the filter one. And again, for those like Shelly, I think Shelly's already done hers, but I think Shelly did it this way. If you've already done it, that's fine. I don't want you to have to go back and redo it. But if you haven't done it yet, use the number 2, the clarification in the chat. And I'll go ahead and let me send that again for those of you that weren't in the room. And I will make an announcement on that right now while I'm thinking about it.
So I grouped by coronary heart disease on that one. So I don't really understand. What were we not supposed to?
I'm sorry, say that again, Shelley.
Were we not supposed to group by coronary heart? I did.
You were. It was so the way that it was more the over 40 part that was confusing. So I changed it
Okay.
to filter to everybody over 40 and then separate by coronary heart disease.
All right.
Yeah, like I said, just the way I had that sentence written was confusing. Have a good day, Shelley.
All right, so I have a question with number 1.
Mhm.
So I did the essay heart, group by CHD, summarize, count, and then I did min BMI, max BMI, min BII, max BAI. Is that correct? What I'm supposed to do?
So yes and no. So you want to be careful here because remember for this data set, BMI is actually called obesity in the data set.
Yeah, so it's the min BMI equals min obesity, comma.
Yes, that sounds exactly right.
Okay. So then it gives me a count of 302 and 160. I wasn't sure if getting only 2 counts was correct.
Yes, because so you've grouped by whether or not somebody has coronary heart disease. So you're going to get one group.
So it's only going to be yes or no.
Yeah, only yes or no. Exactly.
See you guys all later.
Great day.
So then for number 2, am I supposed to get true, false?
Sorry, let me go back and read it. So for number 2, you should be getting max, min, BMI, BAI, and max and min for BMI, max and min for the AI for each of the two groups. And the groups should be labeled 0 and 1, I think, for coronary heart disease. Read me, do you want to put your code in the chat and I'll look at it? Oh, you can't.
Yeah, I think the issue might be that I did group by CHD and age, and maybe I was supposed to do group by and then under that filter.
Oh yeah, so read the what I put in the chat. So I number 2 reads funny, so I changed the way that it reads to make it easier. Do you see? If I can repost it if you don't see it.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, so start with your data set, do a pipe operator with filter, and then do a second pipe operator with group by, and it'll make that easier. The way that I originally had number 2 written was confusing.
So I'm supposed to have group by CHD, and then the next line should be group by again.
No. So have a look at, so in the chat, so it says start with the SA Heart data set. So you'll have SA Heart data set. The then word tells you to put a pipe operator. So then filter to only include those over 40.
So I'm doing filter and then group by.
Exactly.
Okay.
Hey, you're okay.
I have a quick question just about like the homework. Well, I was super late because of the cows, but the data set is like the food one that needed to be like kind of like transformed, and like Saz was R was kind of mad at it.
So the Starbucks one, you should have just been able to read in the data set for the Starbucks one.
Yeah, it was just like into like one line and not separated by comma. So I edited it in Excel.
Did you download the one from Canvas?
Oh, I used the one in the link that wasn't the code.
That's why. So I was just giving you that for the resource. I provided the CSV for you. So the
Oh,
CSV was already clean.
but it will work the same, right? It shouldn't
Yeah,
change.
it should work the same. Because I think when I cleaned it, that's how I cleaned it.
Okay, because the one that we were using forever was the drinks, and this one said we're using a new one, the food.
No, it was just the same. I think I just put the new in there was probably just a copy and paste from where we had used it before, but it was the same Starbucks data set that we had before. Because it's got the drinks and no, I think it's always just had food. I don't think we had one that was just the drinks.
Okay.
Yeah, because it should be the same Starbucks data set that we've always used.
Let's see.
I have a question on number 3.
Yeah.
The good number of missing observations for BMI level. Do I need to do anything with those?
You don't. Do you have, how many do you have missing? Is it like 29, 24?
378.
Oh, something's going wrong with your code. Let's look at your code.
All right.
That's too many. That's almost all of them.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go.
Yeah, so this one, so for this, do me a favor, go up to your 18.5 colon 24.99.
Yeah.
Just highlight that and click run for me.
Just this guy?
No, just the 18.5 colon 24.99. Yep. All right. So notice when you run that, that's what that sequence.
Oh, so I need to tell it to like go up by like 0.01 or something.
Exactly. And so I finally figured out what the issue is. So go ahead and do that because that's what we did in class. There's actually a problem with that. And I finally figured out what it is, and I'll make an announcement on it. So Daniel has a better solution, which is to create a continuous interval. So anyways, I'll make an announcement, but what is happening. But that was the solution that we used, was to do the sequence and to go up by 0.1 and to see if it's in there. But for some reason, there are a couple of the numbers it's not going to pick up, and it has to do with how R is storing the sequence. And so I'm writing up an explanation as we speak. It's odd that it does it, but so I'll post an alternative solution. But for right now, for the lab, just use the sequence.
Okay, thank you. So that takes me down to 21 NAs, and that's all right.
Yep, that's fine. And like I said, I'm going to post a correction on how to fix that. That has to do with how the sequence is constructed in R. And there's something really bizarre. I'm going to pull it up here in just a second to show you all what's happening. And then I'll make I'll put it in an announcement as well.
Thanks for the help.
You're welcome.
So what does like oh, I'm sure you went through the beginning of the class. What does like the percentage and like the greater sign mean? Because it's different than what we did in the practice exercise where we created a new object.
Yes, so that's the pipe operator.
So that will always like,
Yeah, so what I said, if you haven't had a chance yet, make sure to watch the 8.1 video. So the whole second half, I talk about the pipe operators and why they're useful. Because essentially what they do is they eliminate the need to create those oh my goodness, can't talk.
the new objects, yeah.
Yes, it eliminates the need to create those intermediary objects is what happens. So it makes it more streamlined. So, you know, it's one of those things in practice. I think there's a nice, I think there's something to be said about creating those intermediary data sets for clarity. And I can definitely see why some people would prefer that way.
Yeah, we
for coding like the pipe operators. So it's one of those things. I wouldn't be upset if you all leave this course and never use the pipe operators, but I also feel like I wouldn't be well preparing you if I didn't tell you about the pipe operators. You go to look up code, a lot of people are going to use them.
Oh yeah, no, that's fine. Because in the end of the day, like our group, we just like, we always create, even in like in SAS or in R, we always create a new one.
Yep.
Because so many times things got like messed up.
Yep.
By filtering or by just like a if and then statement, that if we just like create on top of the original data set, we don't trust it anymore.
Yeah, no, and that, I mean, and that is good practice. And so it's interesting because the authors of the book say always use pipe operators. Don't create any of these intermediary data sets. But, you know, at the same time, for clarity in reading, sometimes I think the intermediary make it easier to read. So I think that's a personal choice in coding, but I think it's important to be aware of both methods. Because again, you're going to look up code that other people have written and they're going to use the pipe operators. So it's important to know, you know, what those pipe operators are actually doing.
Sounds good. And it's always that sign.
Yes. Yeah, that sign is known as the pipe operator.
I was 100% brain dead yesterday when I watched the videos and did the exercises, but I got it done.
Yeah, that will always be called the pipe operator.
Okay, so I have a question for number 3.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to do mutate BMI underscore level, and it's telling me that BMI level is not found. So aren't I trying to make a new variable by doing BMI underscore level equals case 1?
Yes, that's exactly what you're doing. So there's probably an error in your code. So it could be, so tell me if you have any of these. When you're creating the new variable using mutate, you're calling obesity, not BMI, right?
Yep.
Okay, so there's that one. Before your group by, so in between, so you've got your full thing, that's the mutate, and then you go to the group by. Before the group by, do you have a pipe operator?
Meaning like group by or summarize?
No, so a pipe operator. So pipe operators are a specific thing. So I'm going to type one in the chat. This is what's called, oh, sorry, hold on a second. That symbol is the pipe operator. So anytime I say pipe operator, I'm referring to that symbol.
I have that after SA heart, and I also have it after my chunk of mutate BMI level.
Okay, you do have it there. So essentially in those sentences that you read, however many times I have the word then in all capital letters, that you want a pipe operator for every single one of those.
Okay.
So make sure that you've got a pipe operator that goes with every one of those thens.
Yeah, I do.
You do. Make sure that you don't have a capitalization mistake. Do you have, so where you define what group level it or BMI level, and then when you call the group by BMI level, are they capitalized the same way?
Mm-hmm. It's like a lot of script to type in. I can send it to you in an email.
Yeah, send it to me. and let me have a look at it. It's just hard where I can't see it.
Yeah, I'm trying to, all the pipe operators are there. Mutate. Case one.
It's probably just something small. Yeah, just email it to me. Use my copy and paste that code into an email, and I can look at it and see if I see it.
And I happened to jump into the chat when you were talking about the like sequence thing.
Yeah.
So I saw what you were talking about. So I did that.
Yeah, and I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna post. I figured out what the issue is. I can show you all real quick if you want to see it. It's a weird problem that I didn't anticipate, but I'll also make an announcement on it. But it's bizarre, like, and I still don't understand why it's doing it. So yeah. Okay, so let me see. Essay part. That looks good. Good. Oh, you are missing a parentheses. So after the word obese in quotations, you want 2 parentheses after obese.
I did that and it told me that I had an extra parentheses.
Let me see if there's another one somewhere else.
Oh, and it's still telling me BMI level not found. Yeah, error, unexpected parentheses and obesities.
Hold on, I'm gonna copy this into my R window. And let me try running it. Okay, you definitely need one there. Oh, you're missing some commas. So after underweight, after healthy, and after overweight, you need commas. See if that fixes it.
Yep.
There we go.
And then I still have an NA category.
You do. That's because of the sequence. Actually, if you don't mind, let me show you all why that's happening. I have no idea why this is happening, and then I'll post in the announcements how to fix it. But it's bizarre. All right. So you all are all creating. So if we use the sequence to create these, right? So all I've done here is I'm going to store these in a table so that we can look at them. So I run this. And here's what I get for my different categories. And there's a hidden category here, which is those 21 NAs. So I was trying to figure out, why are we getting the NAs? If we look at SA Heart, the actual data set, and we look at, let me do this for, I did this for adioplasty, but I think it's the same thing. Let me look here real quick. Sorry, I realized I did this for adioplasty, but it's the same. Okay, this will give you the idea. I'll have to fix it, but it'll give you the idea. All right, so if I look at the 39th observation from the data. So here I'm going to look at the 39th value of, this is actually the BAI one, but it's the same idea. It's 19.63. If I create a sequence that runs from, hold on a second, let me run up here and do this. So I get for putting things in the console instead of up here. All right, so I'm going to create a sequence that runs from 11 to 23.99 by 0.1. So obviously this sequence, if I look at it, here's all of its values. We can see that this sequence contains 19.63, right? So if I ask R, is 19.63 in this sequence, it should tell me yes. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what I did was I looked at the 39th value. It says it's 19.3. And then I looked at the 864th value of that sequence, which is 19.3. So logically, I would think, okay, these should be the same. But if I use a logic argument and I ask R, are these two things equal to one another? R tells me they're not equal to each other. And so I'm like, well, that's strange. That's why you're getting the NAs. It's not picking them up as equal. So I was like, well, why aren't they the same? So next, I looked at the structure of each. Both are stored as numbers, 19.6. So again, I thought, okay, well, this is strange. Why is it telling me they're not equal? So then I thought, well, let's look at the difference between the two. Because if they're equal, the difference should be equal to 0, right? So I took one minus the other one, and notice what I get. I get essentially 0 out to 15 decimal places.
Mm-hmm.
So what's happening is there's some hidden decimal places in there that we can't see. Like, it's not showing them to me, and it's only doing them for some of the numbers in the sequence. So those hidden decimal places are in the sequence, but it's only happening for some of them. So that's why we're not getting all NAs throughout. We're just getting a couple select ones are NAs. I'm not sure why it's doing that. It has to do with how it's storing the number. So what I did to fix this is in the sequence, I just rounded each element of the sequence to 2 decimal places, ran it again, and this time I just stored it as a table so we could see it. And notice what happens. Now I get the correct counts. So if I add these up, I'm going to get the correct counts. And we can compare it to the original table up here. Oh, here, I'll do it this way so we can compare them side by side. So if I call that first table that I made, there's where your missing values went. Most of them were from the healthy, and then we had a couple from the overweight. So you can take care of the missing values that way, or we could use Daniel's solution as well. So anyway, so I'll post an announcement that explains that a little bit better, but that's what's happening is for some of the elements in the sequence, it's storing them with a bunch of extra decimal places that are hidden. So when we go to use that sequence, it's not showing them.
That looks so much better.
Oh yeah, did you do the round?
Yeah.
Yep. So that's, and again, I honestly have no idea why it's doing that, but that's the quick fix. Hannah, I haven't heard from you. How's it going?
I clicked on the wrong screen, but I'm doing good. I'm almost done.
Awesome.
Okay, see you guys later.
Have a great day, Lindley.
Okay, I have a quick question of like pretty much like syntax. This is like number 3. I just want to know like where should I put like the pipe?
Yeah.
Because like I do it at the beginning and then I mutate it.
Yeah, so one quick thing though, you want to get rid of that second essay heart. The
Oh,
reason for this
it was
is,
kind of mad at me.
yeah,
why I
so the reason for that is what the pipe operator does is it allows you to chain together different functions. So you start with the data set. So it knows that when you call the pipe operator and then you call the mutate function, it knows the data set you're going to use is SA heart. So that's why you don't want to put SA heart in the mutate here. Does that make sense? And that's because of the pipe operator. So what you've got there, that should run now.
Yeah, but then I have to do the other levels, right? I have to still have to do, and then that's my question. Then I have to do this again.
You will. So everywhere in that sentence that you see a capital then, that represents a pipe operator.
A capital what?
So then, so in the sentence above it, so in the sentence you're trying to copy, everywhere you see the word then, that cues that that's a pipe operator.
Yeah, okay. Then group by BMI level. So is it gonna be inside or outside these parentheses here?
Outside. So
this, the mutate is done.
Mutate's done. So notice then, and the sentence you've got a then. So then put a pipe operator.
Okay. Then I'm gonna do group by.
But you're still missing the pipe operator.
Isn't it after?
No, so it's before. So can I share my screen real quick?
Yeah, of course. Let me stop.
So oh goodness, too many windows here. Here we go. Okay. So when you're reading these, let me make this a little bit bigger. Anywhere you see a then, that represents a pipe operator. And the pipe operator is going to separate different functions. So if I'm reading this and I'm reading how to code it, it says start with SA heart data set. So I'm going to call SA heart to get the data set. Then I'm going to type a pipe operator. Add a new variable to the data set. So everything before the next when, that's going to be a function. So that's your mutate function. Then, so place a pipe operator. Group by. So I know I got to use the group by function. Then put a pipe operator. Find the number, da, 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 da. So that's your last piece. So the pipe operator is separating these different pieces of the sentences. So everywhere that you see a then, place a pipe operator, then do the next function. Does that make sense?
Yep. Oh, yeah. Because I was confused because I was looking at the chunks that I had to run first.
Yes. Yeah, so you're doing the same thing with these. So notice in my example sentence here, that's why I've got the thens in capital. So if we look at this one and compare it to the code, we've got start with SA heart data set. That's this piece. Then that's the pipe operator.
Yeah.
Group by, there's the group by. Then there's the pipe operator. And then we got the last part.
Yep. but I can, yes, I was just, my question was like, do I end a statement with it? Or, oh shit. Or do I like start? I just figure out it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's on that line or the next line.
That's pretty,
Just as long as you separate them by the pipe operator.
yeah. So
I think most of the time when I see them, it's at the end of the line.
yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put it at the end because like at the beginning it gets like confusing. Got it.
So one way you could do, let me show you something. Come on, computer. All right, so all I've done here is I have copy and pasted from the PDF. So if you want, one way to think about how to organize your code is what you could do. Oh, that's misspelled. Is everywhere that you see a then, start a new line. So then. So when you go to write your code, if you kind of think of it this way, what this will tell you is your code really has 4 separate lines, 3 of them ending with the pipe operator. Does that kind of make sense? Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay.
Total sense. I had the Zoom set up to like automatically unmute after when you talk, but we were in a class with a bunch of undergrads, like the STEM Cats class, and my professor was coding during the class. and he got something wrong and he was like very frustrated, so he started yelling, and then his microphone unmuted. It was just him like screaming. So now like we all turned it off.
I myself doing that, but not when I'm with you all. But if I'm by myself coding, that has happened before.
And sometimes like we scream like a celebratory scream that like, yeah, you work, but it was not the happy one.
No. I always have to keep myself on mute because you can hear him now. He's been sitting behind me sleeping the whole time, but once he wakes up, my dog just starts talking.
That's funny.
All right, I'm out of here. Thank you so much for all of your help.
You're welcome. Have a great day, Brooke.
Yeah, have a good week.
I need to change it up. Most days, you know, when we don't have classes, is right around the time that he goes on his walk every day. And so I think it has trained him to be very vocal at the end of class because he knows it's time.
Do you have a backyard that you can just let him out?
We do. I don't know. I've never been, so we have a backyard and it's fenced, but I never feel, I don't like leaving him out there unsupervised. I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of leaving my dog outside unsupervised. I don't think he could jump the fence, but I don't know. I'm just not comfortable with it. So I usually, like, if I'm downstairs where I can keep an eye on him, I'll let him run outside. But if he's unsupervised, I've never liked doing that. And you just never know. There's a lot of neighborhood kids. Like the kids came up to the fence and put their fingers through it. Again, I don't think he would do anything, but I just don't ever want to. I don't want to allow for that.
Risk it.
If that makes sense. Because he's a big dog. He's right around 80 pounds, so he's a pretty big doggo.
Okay.
I have kind of a stupid question.
Oh, I guarantee you it's not a stupid question. What do you got?
Maybe not. Okay, so whenever I'm doing a number 5, what's the best way to combine the heart disease and subject and family history?
Yeah, so this is exactly what we did last lab. I think it was either the last question or next to last question. So you should be able to copy your code from last lab.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, have a look at it. So it'll be based off of family history and CHD. So you should have some lines of code that are something along the lines of FamHist, double equals, quotations, present, and CHD equals 0 or 1, and then the HD. If you don't have that in your lab, let me know. But I get that we did that last lab, so have a look, and then if you don't see it, let me know.
Okay.
So with the pipe, the variables like don't show up in the main data set.
So you have to. That's exactly right. So what is it depends on how you write the code. So
oh, because it can do like an output out or something like. Well, I'm talking fast.
Yeah, you're right. It's the same thing. So like here, if we look at so this is the first part of the lab with the.
Oh, let me. Yep.
So here, which one?
Yeah, in one of the chunks you created a new data set. I saw that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the difference. So like in chunk 4, where there's no assignment operator, it's just gonna give you the output. But in chunk 5, I used an assignment operator to name it as a new data set. So if you do it this way, then it will save all of the mutated variables into that new data set. So it just depends on how you set up the code. So like this way is really useful if you know you're going to end up making a plot and you're going to need some of those things that you mutate.
Yeah, it's just crazy, like to create variables and not be able like to look them up, I guess.
Yeah, no, so it's just that whether or not you assign that to be a new data set. But I mean, that's true if you just use mutate by itself anyways.
Yeah. Let's see. Is this one number 4?
Okay, I got it all figured out. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
Okay. I just realized that I was missing like the minimum for pretty much everything that I did.
Oh, this that's an easy fix though.
Yeah, because I added the maximum twice. I'm like, there's something weird. I have to go back and fix all of those. That's an easy fix. I wasn't going to make it to the lab at all.
Oh, happy. Been
That's
busy.
good. We had like a researcher at the University of Nottingham who was going to give us a talk at 10. So I got late with my cabs and I wouldn't make it, and they just changed it to noon because of the time change. So
Yeah, I feel like everyone is, I don't know, starting to get worn down, especially because even faculty where we didn't have a spring break this year. Like I think we're all starting to feel the lack of spring break.
Speaking of that, I'm supposed to give my students an exam today, and I haven't gotten feedback on it. I knew there would be. Okay, so for 5, just copy the code from last lab. And now we're gonna group.
Here. Thus.
Pipe here. Fine. HD. Okay, I think I got it. Okay.
Those, yeah, I've seen different ways to code. I've seen some people that never use the pipe operators, and then I see other people that always use the pipe operators. And so,
Yeah, because well, on SAS, what in the end of the day we call like a pipe. It's like it's almost like a loop where we do like open every single CSV file in this folder. So that's what we call it when we did like pipes, especially for like technology data, that the data like uploads to a certain folder like on a daily basis and creates by date. We create like on R would be a loop that's like grab everything instead of saying like read this one, read that one, read that one.
and that makes
So,
sense.
like
I'm gonna guess
read every CSV and name it, merge them all and name it like this.
because is your instrumentation, is it providing the CSV files for you? Is that why?
Yeah.
Then that makes sense. And you would do the same thing in R, but you're right. In R, that would be through a loop is what you would do that through. And I'm sure there's packages that do that as well.
I'm sure.
Yeah, when
that's it.
I've usually done it with a loop because whatever my data sets are named, usually the only difference is like the number at the end. So then I'll just create a loop to loop through them.
So well, since we're here, that's it, right? You just want like the tables.
Right. Yep, that's all you want.
And then I'll fix the ones that are missing, like the minimums here.
Yeah, but other than that, that looks good.
Okay. Cool. That was less painful than expected.
Yeah, you're done for the week now.
Yep. I'll see you next week.
See you. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye.